Hey folks, Matt Sharp here with another Pacific Angler Friday Fishing Report. We're filming for October 30th, so if it's nowhere near October 30th, click up here. This is a link to all the Friday Fishing Reports. We do it every week, so I should have something more up to date for you. This week we got a full one for you. Weather is a little bit wacky. We might be seeing summer 3.0, I think we're on 3 now, where temperatures are going to hit almost high teens, like 17, 18 degrees in some spots around the lower mainland come Sunday. Now that's going to play havoc with a lot of our fisheries, but it is going to be some excellent weather to get outside. Might be the last kick of the can for the fall to have some really nice weather right now. I thought winter was going to sink her teeth in last week with that cold stuff, but it looks like we got a reprieve, and we're going to look at how that's going to affect things. So it's already dirtying up rivers around the lower mainland as we're doing this report Wednesday night. On not such good news, there is an issue with fisheries. If you look carefully at the regs, and funnily enough, I actually have had customers ask me this and I said no way, that has to be open, but it looks as though chum fishing is closed on the Squamish right now. A lot of people still out there salmon fishing because you are allowed to fish for coho, but technically you are not allowed to fish for chum. And it's got us scratching our heads. Is it a simple example of the fishery management's negligence? Or is it actually something to do with fisheries management that they haven't told us about? Hopefully we're gonna get some answers, but in the written version of the report, check that out. I'm hopefully going to have updates there so we get a really clear picture of whether you're allowed to target chum or if you have to specifically target coho and coho only when you are salmon fishing up the Squamish Way. Now, on better news, Andre's got a fly for us, and it's actually a pretty cool one. It actually looks like one of my so-called secret guide flies. Not that it's secret, but I just haven't really published it or shown it to anyone, but it's very similar in a lot of ways, and I think it's definitely going to be a winner for your guys' box when you're looking at targeting coho, be it up the Squamish, be it up the Harrison, be it up the Vedder direction. We're going to look at that at the back end of the report. We're also going to go over the Vedder, we're also going to go over the Harrison, we're also going to go over the Stave, and we're going to touch base on the saltwater fishing because winter fishing has been decent and definitely worth getting out. Maybe do some crabbing, maybe throw the lines down. We have had decent reports for it being this early. As always, guys, you want to see more reports like this, hit that like button, hit the sub button. Let's get into her. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in with me this week. We're going to start off with politics first. Why not? Let's get it out of the way. I bear with me on lots of editing. I always have to be really careful with what I say on these things, but because I want to make sure I'm giving you guys correct information and not opinions from myself. That said, I do have a big opinion on this one, so I'm going to share that with you guys today. So just a little history lesson of what's happened here. When our regulations came out this season, all salmon fishing was closed in the lower mainland area, and their plan was to open them as they went. Now, they didn't tell us this. They just said salmon fishing closed. No one had peep or notice of this, at least in the industry or the guide industry. So that came up. Everyone was a little bit concerned. I wasn't concerned. I thought, hey, they're going to be smart about this. They're going to open them as they go. We got clarification on it that that was the plan, that they were going to open up these fisheries as they go prior to the actual major fishery when there could be assessments made. Now, in concept, assessments are great. We're going to get biologists out in the field, figuring out what the heck is going on with these fisheries, getting better numbers, getting better data. So the season rolled by, a number of fisheries opened on time, and then some began to open not on time or seemed to be forgotten about. They also seemed to be forgotten about in areas where there was conflict, areas where it had nothing to do with management of the fishery or fisheries numbers, but it had to do with user groups conflicting with each other, where the ministry just left it closed for sports fishermen, cut out of the fishery for no better reason than being sports fishermen. So where were those? I'll just list a couple of them. The Chehalis had some issues on that. Pitt River had some issues on that. I think there were a couple more. I'm not going to get into the nitty gritties of it, but there were some mistakes. Rolling forward, we're now at the Squamish time. We're at the main peak season of salmon fishing. Didn't even cross our mind to catch and release chum fishing would be open on the Squamish. Now, it looks as though it's not open. It's not clear, and my call goes out to anyone in fisheries. By any chance you hear this, first off, be way more clear, be way more upfront with what's going on and why it's going on. and make it available to everybody, because there are user groups and even user groups within user groups. Sports fishermen, for example, might want areas to be closed for certain styles of fishing so that their style of fishing can be unhampered or less crowded. Now, that's a discussion we all need to have, because we all have rights or at least history to these fisheries, and that history needs to be respected. All right, rant over. Let's get into the information, because it does look like a wicked weekend to go fishing. And for a note on the Squamish, you can go coho fishing up there and target coho, and they really love eating purple and pink jigs. That's my favorite coho lure. All right, let's get into it. So, weather, we've got Squamish first. Now let's start off with Vancouver, because Vancouver is a cool one just to give us sort of a gauge of what's coming through. And it's 11 degrees right now, which is super warm, and this is where things get interesting. So we were sitting in the shop today, and I wasn't even really looking at the weather, and then I popped it up, and a bunch of the rivers are on the rise as we're doing this. Why? Because the nighttime temperatures. So like Thursday night tonight, after I do this report, it's gonna be 9 degrees, which is relatively warm. It's gonna be 11 and 8 on Friday, 11, 11, 14 and 14. This is where it's getting warm. But funnily enough, I wanna look at Squamish, because, well, we've been talking about the chum and we're talking about the coho up that way. This river is very sensitive to water spikes. It might be one of the reasons why they want to look at it a little more detail, the fisheries and the biologists. But either way, right now we're seeing 10 degrees and 7 at night, 11 degrees, 4 at night Friday, which is good, it should clear it up. And then Saturday we've got 10 and 3, so that's really good. The river I'm gonna show you guys in a second is on a vertical rise right now because of the relatively warm weather at night and the relatively warm weather of the day, and then a reasonable dump of rain. We had like 10 to 20 millimeters up there today. Not crazy rain, but enough that with these warm temperatures it went sideways on the anglers out there. So we're hoping that that's gonna clear up. It looks like a beautiful day Saturday to get out, and a crazy beautiful day Sunday, but the problem is that 17 in the day is obviously going to dirty things up as well. I'm not sure if the spread from 6 to 17 is going to be enough to keep things frozen and keep things low after we've had that rain. So watch your river levels. We'll throw that out right now just so you guys can see it. So you rip out here, and if you remember last week we looked at temperatures on the Elaho graph. We're going to do that first, and you can see that here where we pull down the secondary axis of our graph and we turn it to air temperature and we apply the settings, and there we go, and you can see it clear as day. I mean, here's the temperatures bouncing all around, night, day, night, day, night, day, and you can see they're going way up, and the water did exactly the same thing with the rain and the heat. Those are combining to make this happen. So let's just jump back and take a look at Squamish to get a gauge of what is actually happening river-wise, and we can see here, bear with for a moment. Yeah, she's vertical. She's gone through 3.4. She's slowing down a little bit on her rise. That's probably the nighttime temperatures, which are reasonable right now, kicking in to slow that down. But it'll be interesting to watch this over the next little bit. My prediction is fairly simple. If it's pushing through a 3.6, you're gonna have challenging fishing, if not almost impossible fishing. If it's down in sort of the 3 to 3.5 range, it's gonna be fishable, but not perfect. And if it's anywhere below 3, it's go time. It should be excellent. Now, I'd have to have a crystal ball or an 8-ball that tells me what to do to be dead on, but that's what I'd be running off of if I were planning a trip up there this weekend. I'm not up there this weekend. I kind of wish I was, because it could be good, but just watch this, check this the night before, maybe even in the morning before you go, because it might mean you go up the valley, up towards sort of Harrison Vedder direction if you see this going vertical, or you might head out up the Sea to Skyway. Talking of the valley, let's roll it out to Chilliwack. Let's see what she's doing. And so when we pull her down, we'll wait for a load. Sipping my beer while we wait for her to load. Okay, there she is, and she's warm as well. We got 16s on Sunday. That's awesome. I expect maybe water to color up a bit. Not much rain on the forecast. 10 and 5 shouldn't be an issue there. Again, watch your river levels when weird weather comes in. Historically, 16 is not what you see at the back end of October. Super strange weather. but should be nice to get out there. Harrison's been also another good one. Check that out. That will get a little bit higher and a little bit dirtier. It's lake fed, so it's a little bit delayed, but it'll sort of ease up with those warmer nights. So keep an eye on that. You know, be careful on your hikes, but it should be good. There's lots of chum there. There are good numbers of coho that direction. Vedder's still fishing well. We didn't say that. We've still had really good reports right across the board. Hasn't slowed down too much, so definitely worth looking at. And then, like we said, Squamish is fishing well as well. We've heard of lots of chum. It looks like an above average year up there, as well as good numbers of coho. So get out there, target those coho, look down in the written version of the report to make sure you're allowed or not allowed to target chum, and then select gear that's appropriate for that when you get out there. All right, last but not least, what do I got? Oh, we talked about winter Chinook. Jay's got information on that down below, but Andre's got a fly for me. Let's take a peek at that. The CNC. So this is a cool one, and why is it a cool one? Oh, that's loud, turn that down. So let me just scroll it for up here so you can see it. I'll throw that up here so you can take a better look at it. But it's a really cool little combination of a bunch of things that I do with patterns to build shoulders to them. But this sort of chartreuse, either mallard or teal, depending on what he uses here, but you can do it with both, has been a go-to for me for chum and for coho on the Harrison. So I suspect he's using it there, but it's also gonna pop on the Squamish for sort of slower moving water channels. And I wouldn't doubt that you throw it on the Vedder, you'd be interesting some coho as well. So this one's cool, I really like it. Put this one in the box, and I'm gonna leave links to that right here for you guys. As always, guys, that's everything I've got for you. So if you wanna see more videos like this, hit that like button, hit the sub button. We'll catch you next week.